Rob, disappointing last week at Northampton, but a lot of positives in a lot of ways with the youngsters. You've talked about them making the most of this period, and likes of Will Beckinsale, Daft Jenkins, Dan John, they're all coming through, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting, kind of day after the game, a couple of days after the game, I popped in and saw my mum and dad kind of pop in next door as you do, kind of on the farm. And we was just having a catch up with them and chat with them. And I think Dad made one of the interesting comments, and it probably feels a bit like I think a lot of us feel, is that yes, we lost and it was disappointing, picked a loose bonus point. But he said, look, I'm watching Josh Hodge run around, Dan John, Will Beckinsale comes in. So that felt really exciting and really kind of nice to see them on the field and getting on with stuff. And that kind of shows you a bit where we are and a bit of where there's some real great stuff happening with the opportunities for those guys. At the same time, we're going to have to take a bit of pain. You know, not everything's going to be smooth. You know, if guys could come in and just play great rugby from day one, they'll probably be in an international squad in day two. You know, that's the reality of that kind of play you're talking about. You know, people have probably forgotten some of the pain we went through with the Henry Slades and Jack Knowles and Luke Handicke, Sam Simmons, Joseph. They'll have forgotten some of that because it just feels like it didn't really happen, but it did. And I think, you know, you look at that game, we get ourselves back in front, and then we make a crucial kick error from a young player, and it puts us back under pressure and it turns the table against us. We made a couple of probably discipline errors that we just didn't need to do. Again, a bit of over enthusiasm. We can talk about those kind of things, you know. But on the whole, you know, we went there with I'm not going to say it wasn't a structured game plan because it was, but we did that because it was a changed up team. I thought on the whole the lads stuck to it very well, worked exceptionally hard in it. We hit some great stats for how hard we worked. I can't criticise the guys for doing that, working hard, sticking to things, showing some belief in what we were doing. And we've come up a little bit short. You know, in other seasons we'd have said in a way losing bonus point in Northampton was fantastic. It kind of shows how far we've come as a club and as a team that it feels a bit disappointing. And I actually said to the group, one of the most pleasing performances in my time here as a coach and director of rugby was in our first season. We went to Northampton and we got losing bonus point in the last second of the game. People who know me, Chris Budgeon kind of burrowed over as he used to do, and we'd spent a lot of time during that week talking about how the importance of staying in the fight and staying there or thereabouts, and how you can build a season based on, you know, being in around 7 points with everybody all the time. And if anybody said to me what's the most disappointing aspect of this season, I would honestly say it was not picking up at least losing bonus points at Sale and Gloucester, because we were in those games enough to have been there. And ironically, I think if we'd have been in those games within that touch, one or two of them might turn into wins. That's how the game can turn and how it can change. And I think we're learning some of those. We're learning some of those things as a new group now, and that's really important to me, because the importance of where we go now is just how we move forward as a group. You know, I've said this a few times. We can't keep thinking that it's just going to roll on being exactly the same every year when so many things change. You know, player groups change, the age of your player group changes. You know, things are changing all the time. What we've got to do is we've got to kind of build a new group that has its new aims and goals and ambitions and desires, and is driven to win games and wants to get to the finals and wants to get there, wants to become internationals. You know, if we look at some of those young guys on their own pitch, if they're hugely driven to win trophies and become international players, they're probably going to be the guys who will drive the team for the next 5 or 6 or 7 years. And we've got to embrace that, and we've got to help them develop as soon as we can.
Ironically, I know you're not one making an excuse at times, but Nigel Warren's done a piece for the programme this week. There's a full-on 23 he's written out that you're missing at the moment, either injuries or international. That's got to hamper you in some way, doesn't it?
Yes, but this is what I think I'm really determined not to get, because I think this kind of happened almost to a worse extent in some ways last season around this period. Yeah. And we were actually looking around, and some of our second and even third choice players were injured, and it kind of looked like a mix of, you know, one starter in one position with a third or fourth choice in another. I mean, there was games when we were putting our full forwards bench was all front row forwards and things like that. So we're kind of in a better situation there. So I'm really determined that we see this as an exciting time, because what I really want to do is just see the players who are coming in just thrive and improve, and however the game goes, we've just got to keep getting better as a group and as individuals, and we've got to stay quite buoyant we've got to just keep fighting. You know, the one thing we probably got, as I said before, we got wrong last year. We were kind of looking for the future, looking for these players coming back, or the internationals will be back, those injured players will be back, those 23 guys who might not be available. Are they round the corner and things will be okay when they come back? Well, they won't be okay if we don't do the right things now. And the right things now are developing ourselves as a team, working hard to do what we do, showing real fight in everything we do, have a really big emotional performance at Sandy Park. That's where we want to be. You know, if we get that right, then the rest of the season will look after itself. But we've got to get the here and now right as well.
London Irish last season, home and away defeats. The away game, you probably could have got something there. Here, it was a poor performance, and you've said that.
Yeah.
Got to rectify that now.
Yeah, because it was one. I think it was one of those points in the season where I think quite a few of our senior lads actually looked at each other and went, "This isn't really good enough here. We've let ourselves down." And we actually had a little bit of an upturn from then. And I think that probably was, some of the lads have kind of said, well, was that our darkest day? You know, and was that the green shoots of us deciding to head back the right way? And I think it probably was in some ways. And as I said, that's what we've got to do. We've got to just be revitalised and be emotional and just get on with the fight and enjoy being in it. You know, I think the lads have really enjoyed being in it. Like last week, they just really enjoyed being in it, in that environment and getting on with it. And I think that's what we've got to do. We've got to relish and cherish being in the Premiership and relish and cherish being in every game.
What are the threat than they're known for their attack, but they can be dangerous all over the park, can't they?
I think, yes, they are. And we've obviously analysed them and we've looked at where they are. I mean, the scariest thing about them is how they come back. You know, the last quarters of games, they seem to score tries almost relentlessly. It's incredible, really. I've never seen, probably hasn't been a team in the Premiership for a long, long time that can do what it does late in the game. So we've got to be very wary of that. But I'm more concerned about us talking about ourselves and focusing on ourselves and how we can improve and how we can drive our game plan. That's the key for me. And if I can see us driving our game plan, buying into it across the board, I'll be very happy.
Team-wise, how are you looking, Rob? You had a few injuries last week.
Yeah, we picked up some that we're going to have to wait late in the week, which again is unfortunate. But you know, it's still a decent group of players. You know, there's still some exciting talent in there. We generally are training well. There's plenty of enthusiasm around the place. Have we got the frontline experience that we've had in other games in other years? Possibly not, but that can be exciting in itself. So I said we've got a definite mood to be getting on with things and enjoying what we're doing, and that's going to bode well for where we go.